Imagine stepping onto the balancing rock of Gray Sloan Memorial Hospital for the first time. The familiar hum of monitors, the crisp scent of antiseptic, and the electric energy of surgeons on the brink of miracles. For nearly 2 decades, fans have trekked into those echoing halls, only to be jolted by shocking exits. One by one, our favorite doctors left the OR, leaving behind unanswered questions and open medical charts. Tonight, we peel back the sterile curtain to reveal the real reasons these main characters said goodbye, from contract disputes and creative rifts to life or death events both on and off camera. It starts at the very top with Meredith Grey, our girl on fire. Portrayed by Ellen Pompeo, Meredith anchored the series from day one. Yet in season 17, she abruptly stepped back from regular screen time. On the surface, it seemed like a creative choice, a fresh storyline to spotlight new interns, or a tender focus on her role as a mother. But insiders whisper a different tale. Behind the scenes, Pompeo and ABC were entangled in a fierce negotiation war. Demands for parity in pay, creative control over her character's arc, and more flexible shooting schedules clashed with budget limitations. What appeared as Meredith taking a sabbatical was actually the culmination of months of behind-closed-doors bargaining, as Pompeo insisted on respect for her years of service and clout, a fight that nearly broke the show's spine. Then there's Dr. Derek Shepherd, our beloved McDreamy. Patrick Dempsey's departure in season 11 remains one of television's greatest plot twists. We watched Meredith cradle his head on the side of a stretch limo, tears streaming, before he slipped away. The official story claimed Dempsey sought to pursue film roles and spend time with his family. But a closer look reveals creative friction with showrunner Shonda Rhimes. Sources cite heated disputes over Derek's storyline direction, complaints that his character was being emasculated, sidelined by too many love triangles, and not enough neurosurgical brilliance. When both sides refused to budge, the only resolution was dramatic, an off-screen car crash that killed off McDreamy forever, salvaging narrative stakes while allowing Dempsey to exit gracefully. Next up, Christina Yang, the brilliant, no-nonsense cardiothoracic surgeon whose ambition and razor-sharp wit made her an instant icon. Sandra Oh's departure in season 10 delivered one of the show's most tear-stained goodbyes as Christina accepted a dream opportunity in Switzerland. On camera, it was an empowering farewell, a woman seizing her destiny. Off camera, however, it stemmed from a mutual decision between Oh and Rhimes. Reports indicate Christina's arc had reached its zenith, and Rhimes worried about creative stagnation. Rather than stretch Yang's story thin, they agreed to let her leave on top. Yet according to insiders, scheduling complications and mounting stress played a role. Oh's desire to explore new roles weighed heavily, while the show's demanding 7-month shoot cycle left little room for breaks. Their collaborative exit avoided bitterness, but marked the end of an irreplaceable powerhouse. Then there's Izzy Stevens, our compassionate heart. Katherine Heigl's exit in season 6 sparked controversy as she publicly criticized the writer's room for undermining her character. Originally, Izzy's post-chemo recovery and romantic entanglements captivated viewers, but when storylines veered towards soap opera territory, Heigl balked. She felt Izzy was losing medical credibility, reduced to romantic cliches. Heigl's infamous, "There's no chemistry" remark about a co-star ruffled feathers, fracturing trust with producers. Contract renewal talks collapsed amid bruised egos, leading to Izzy's off-screen departure for DC. The fallout rocked fandom. Some cheered creative integrity, others lamented lost chemistry, underscoring how one star's public outcry can reshape a series' dynamic. George O'Malley, the everyman hero with a heart of gold, also met a sudden end in season 5. Isaiah Washington's off-screen controversies ignited when he used a homophobic slur about a co-star, sparking network discipline and on-set tensions. Although Washington apologized, ABC imposed a suspension and creative discussions ensued. Could they keep George amid the drama? Rhimes ultimately decided that the narrative stakes in the OR should reflect real-world accountability. George's tragic death by bus served as both a storyline moment and a message: behavior has consequences. Washington's firing after multiple clashes confirmed that this writing-on-the-wall moment was never purely artistic. It was a real-time response to off-camera misconduct. Finally, Alex Karev, our prickly-turned-protective pediatric surgeon, departed in season 16 with a shocking twist. He abandoned his wife and fled to Italy. Justin Chambers' decision to leave the show stunned fans and writers alike. Contract talks had stalled over pay equity and creative direction, but Chambers never publicly aired grievances. Instead, he opted for a quiet exit. Behind the scenes, sources revealed Chambers craved closure on his own terms, not a messy public feud. Karev's sudden vanishing act mirrored real life. Chambers walked away at the height of his character's popularity, preferring privacy over spotlight. The writers scrambled to retrofit an exit that felt consistent while preserving his legacy as the show's ultimate redemptive arc. Each of these departures carried huge emotional weight on screen, but the real reasons, buried in negotiations, creative visions, and personal convictions, reveal a show in constant flux. As Grey's Anatomy evolves, fresh faces will rise and old legends will pass. But the legacy of Meredith, Derek, Christina, Izzy, George, and Alex endures, a testament to the delicate dance between art and life, and the unspoken forces that shape the medicine we stream. One of the earliest and most shocking exits came when Addison Montgomery, portrayed by Kate Walsh, left the wards of Grey Sloan to launch her own journey in private practice. On screen, Addison's departure let her pursue neonatal surgeries and complex romantic entanglements in Los Angeles. Off-screen, however, Walsh's move hinged on more than a character arc. ABC recognized that spin-offs propelled by popular side characters could yield syndication gold, and Walsh negotiated a lucrative multi-year contract granting her not only a starring role, but creative input on scripts and production choices. In private meetings, she insisted on a reduced filming schedule, a producer credit, and a separate wardrobe budget that rivaled her co-star salaries. When ABC balked at her demands, negotiations nearly collapsed, prompting a scripted exit that tied Addison's departure to a medical conference reunion. That pivot saved the spin-off and cemented Walsh's status as a showrunner in her own right. In season 14, Jessica Capshaw's Arizona Robbins, the fearless pediatric surgeon, donned a military uniform to return stateside, ostensibly for a practice in Washington, D.C. Yet behind the narrative twist lay personal considerations. Capshaw and her husband, filmmaker Christopher Gavigan, had just welcomed 2 children, and the grueling 12-month production cycle clashed with her new role as a mother. Network executives offered on-set childcare options and shipping allowances, but she resisted any solution that risked her family's normalcy. Creative teams, pressed for continuity, ceded. Arizona's arc with a deployment subplot that ultimately led to her off-screen mission overseas. Contrast framing emerges here too. The hero's commitment to care on screen mirrored Capshaw's fierce insistence on caregiving off-camera. Fast forward to season 16, and Jesse Williams's charismatic plastic surgeon, Jackson Avery, bid farewell under a different light. On story, Jackson accepted a prestigious Fulbright scholarship abroad, granting him academic prestige and narrative closure. In reality, Williams had become a vocal activist against systemic racism in both society and Hollywood, leading the show's writers' room diversity protests. His advocacy created palpable tension as writers scrambled to integrate heavy themes into episodic dramas. Balancing his philanthropic commitments to the Jesse Williams Family Foundation, which he established to bolster minority voices in the arts, with the physically demanding hours of a network drama proved untenable. When Williams approached production with an ultimatum, either reduced episodes or higher per-episode pay reflecting his expanded role as a producer, ABC balked. Facing the choice between activism and acting, Williams chose the former, leaving Jackson's narrative woven into a poignant reunion scene with Meredith. Similarly, April Kepner's journey, played by Sarah Drew until season 14, saw her trade operating rooms for battlefield medical units. Initially scripted as a compassionate fix to heal from postpartum struggles and personal tragedy, Drew's exit was also influenced by contract negotiations and on-set culture shifts. After 10 seasons of back-to-back shoots, she sought a shorter filming window to pursue theater roles and a personal travel project in Europe. The producers, facing budget constraints and a crowded ensemble cast, resisted carving out special accommodations. Behind closed doors, Sources say tensions rose when Drew declined to film a controversial storyline that would force April to choose between faith and medical ethics in an inflammatory portrayal. Ultimately, she negotiated an exit that honored her character's evolution toward humanitarian work, reflecting Drew's own desire for purpose-driven roles beyond network TV tropes. Owen Hunt's arc, embodied by Kevin McKidd for 14 seasons, experienced multiple near exits before his final farewell. As a combat veteran grappling with PTSD, Hunt's storyline often mirrored McKidd's own push for mental health advocacy. But the actor also sought creative challenges outside Gray Sloane's walls. Reports from 2019 indicate McKidd requested a sabbatical to direct and star in a historical miniseries set in Scotland. Production managers balked, fearing his absence would unsettle the ensemble dynamic. Instead of a full hiatus, they agreed on a limited arc that sent Hunt to Michigan for family duty. That compromise, drafted on a cocktail napkin in a backlit bar, allowed McKidd to balance his directorial aspirations while maintaining ties to his beloved character, ultimately leading to a guest arc rather than a permanent exit. As Grey's continues evolving, Joe Wilson's on-screen exit, played by Camilla Luddington, underscores narrative necessity and real-world commitments. Luddington negotiated time to develop her own slate and start a family. On screen, Jo departed for a fellowship in global health, mirroring Luddington's off-screen passion. Meanwhile, exits of Chief Weber and Dr. Bailey stemmed from creative closure rather than conflict. James Pickens Jr. and Chundra Wilson agreed to graduation episodes under reduced contracts, preserving their legacies. When franchise spin-off talks arose, both actors signed on for guest arcs, allowing Grey's to introduce fresh, vibrant, diverse new characters. Beyond the headline exits of Meredith, Derek, Christina, Izzy, George, and Alex, Grey's Anatomy has bid farewell to a host of beloved doctors whose departures blended dramatic storytelling with equally dramatic behind-the-scenes circumstances. Consider Lexi Grey's tragic Season 8 finale. One moment, she was battling for her surgical career. The next, she was cradled in Meredith's arms after a catastrophic plane crash. On screen, her death delivered gut-wrenching emotion and cemented the stakes of hospital life. Off-screen, however, Kyler Lee had negotiated a shortened contract to pursue independent film opportunities and avoid an increasingly grueling shooting schedule. Her storyline had reached a poignant crescendo, and Lee's desire for narrative closure aligned with showrunner Shonda Rhimes' wish to up the stakes. The plane crash exit was tragic for fans, but it served a dual purpose, honoring Lexi's imprint on the series while providing Lee a definitive break. Mark Sloane's abrupt exit in Season 9 mirrored both a devastating on-screen fall and off-screen strategic departure. Known affectionately as McSteamy, Eric Dane's character underwent a heart transplant story arc before succumbing to injuries sustained during the same plane crash that claimed Lexi. Executives and Dane agreed that Mark's redemption from narcissistic plastic surgeon to devoted friend warranted a heroic exit. Dane, meanwhile, felt the role had run its natural course after nearly a decade. He had also become one of the highest-paid supporting actors, opening doors to film roles and production projects. Both he and the network opted to craft a heroic goodbye. Mark's final moments among beloved colleagues offered dramatic closure while respecting Dane's ambition to expand beyond Grey's Anatomy's confines. Kim Raver's Teddy Altman arrived in Season 6 as a brilliant cardiothoracic consultant with military experience. Her fierce intellect and steely resolve made her a viewer favorite. Yet after a pivotal Season 7 storyline left Teddy stranded on a remote base, Raver chose to explore diverse television roles, including star turns on political dramas. To address this, writers engineered a storyline where Teddy accepted a Pentagon assignment, allowing her to serve her career motivations and exit gracefully. A delayed series of guest appearances over later seasons honored fans' attachment, while Raver pursued roles in other genres. When she returned in Season 10 as a recurring consultant, the audience rejoiced, but her final exit aligned with Raver's own production deal that demanded flexibility to split time between coasts. Amelia Shepard's transition further illustrates the delicate balance between actor priorities and narrative cohesion. Introduced in Season 11 as Derek's neurosurgeon sister, Katerina Scorsone seized on an opportunity to anchor Grey's spin-off station drama, and pursue diverse film projects. Scorsone negotiated a deal that embedded Amelia in Grey's Anatomy for 100 episodes before shifting her primary residence to Station 19 in Season 4 of that spinoff. The arrangement allowed her to deepen Amelia's backstory, addressing grief, addiction, and medical triumphs, while forging a new creative identity. Showrunners on both series collaborated to ensure continuity. Amelia's crossover storylines maintained her presence in Seattle at key moments, bridging Grey Sloan and the Firehouse with seamless transitions. Even less prominent, but no less impactful departures like Dr. Dennis Gant and Dr. Link's evolving screen time reflect decisions grounded in contract dynamics and creative direction. When Ricardo Ramos's role as Dr. Link returned the hospital to the sexiest surgeon bracket, more screen time meant other characters had to shift. Some actors declined to renegotiate contracts under new ensemble compositions, seeking shorter commitments or more centralized roles elsewhere. In that way, contract realignments not only reshaped character rosters, but signaled the shifting economic model of long-running network dramas that rely on star stability balanced with financial sustainability. Scripted exits often echoed off-screen impressions. When ownership rights for spin-offs like Private Practice and Station 19 generated lucrative syndication streams, actors gained leverage in contract talks. Characters whose actors demanded producer credits, profit participation, or flexible shooting calendars found themselves scripted as medical volunteers transferred overseas or through rare inter-hospital rotations. On-screen transitions like extended rotations in pediatric clinics, humanitarian missions in Haiti, or research fellowships in Europe served to match character arcs to actors' personal and professional needs. Grey's Anatomy has long demonstrated a surprising elasticity in accommodating cast shifts without sacrificing dramatic cohesion. The choreography behind each goodbye often begins months in advance. Contract negotiation teams hash out episode counts, exit clauses, and return guest stipulations. Writers craft emotionally satisfying endings that dovetail with narrative threads, sometimes introducing fate-altering emergencies, other times leveraging the existing relationships to construct uplifting send-off speeches. Grey's Anatomy shows that every departure carries two stories, one written for viewers and another negotiated behind closed doors. When a character moves on, fans witness sorrow and triumph on screen while actors and producers fine-tune contracts, creative arcs, and personal goals off camera. This blend of drama and real-world negotiation sustains the show's magic, ensuring each farewell echoes in viewers' hearts long after the final scene. By the time Grey's Anatomy reached its 19th season, even the long-standing stalwarts were preparing to say goodbye. First, consider Dr. Richard Webber. For 15 seasons, James Pickens Jr. anchored the halls of Grey Sloan with his steady leadership and paternal wisdom. His exit arc in Season 19 let Richard accept a joint appointment as Dean of Medicine at Clemson, tied to the network's push to diversify locations. On screen, the message was clear. After decades of service, only a new challenge could match his vision. Off-screen, Pickens negotiated a one-year limited-run contract, citing travel constraints and a desire to spend more time with aging parents. Sources close to the production revealed discussions about equity back-end points, co-executive producer credit, and a lighter shooting schedule. When ABC balked at accelerated profit participation terms, both sides compromised on a story that honored Richard's legacy while granting Pickens the freedom to scale back. Similarly, Dr. Miranda Bailey's farewell began with a whispered offer of a residency abroad. This narrative choice mirrored Chandra Wilson's real negotiation for salary parity with her co-stars, a role that had soared in prominence after over a decade. Wilson had grown frustrated by pay discrepancies and limited creative input on Bailey's intense arcs. In private meetings, she pushed ABC for showrunner status and the right to oversee certain storylines. Though the studio granted a seat at the table, network heads refused to extend a full producer credit. Ultimately, Wilson finalized an exit by cloaking her departure in Bailey's acceptance of a visiting professorship in Belgium, a storyline that allowed guest cameos whenever the show needed a nostalgic anchor. Meanwhile, Dr. Ben Warren, played by Jason George, followed his own divergent path. Introduced as a surgical resident, Ben crossed into Station 19 in Season 13, spawning a dual franchise arc. His exit from Gray Sloan to full-time duty at the firehouse was simple on paper, but complex in execution. Behind the scenes, George negotiated extension options that spanned both series, demanding equal screen time guarantees and a pay split that reflected his franchise-spanning role. Producers ultimately agreed to alternating seasons between the dramas, framing Ben's transfer as an earned promotion. The clause provided closure to his hospital saga while fueling the Firehouse spin-off with an established hero. Grey's Anatomy also bid farewell to Dr. Maggie Pierce, portrayed by Kelly McCreary, whose departure in season 16 for research in gene therapy surprised fans. McCreary, after 7 seasons, sought more film opportunities and a flexible schedule. In confidential writer talks, she leveraged her character's status as chief of cardiothoracic surgery to secure a part-time contract. When ABC hesitated, she threatened a public holdout, forcing writers to create Maggie's fellowship overseas. The split arrangement saw McCreary appear in 6 episodes per season, maintaining narrative continuity while freeing her to pursue outside roles. Spin-offs and crossovers have become negotiating tools for cast stability and exit management. Grey's Anatomy producers often tease brief returns by airing Grey's Anatomy Presents one-off vignettes, luring fans to tune in or stream the network app. Actors benefit from return guest fees and residuals, while the studio monetizes nostalgic reappearances. Negotiations for these cameo deals usually involve equity shares on streaming revenue, a fresh battleground in the writer-producer union era. Equally significant is how real-life events influence story arcs. When a cast member faces family health issues or seeks extended leave, writers pivot quickly. Episode outlines are redrafted to send characters off on altruistic missions, disaster relief, medical conferences, or humanitarian trips, often with the understanding that the actor can cameo remotely via green screen segments. These flexible exits underscore Grey's Anatomy's adaptive production model, in which narrative evolves to serve both character growth and contractual realities. Shonda Rhimes and her writing team maintain continuity by weaving departing characters into major season finales. No farewell comes without a dramatic moment, a life-or-death surgery, a heartfelt confession in the hospital courtyard, or a cliffhanger loading dock rendezvous. These climactic exits drive water-cooler conversation and guarantee social media engagement. Behind closed doors, marketing executives analyze Twitter trends to determine which farewell scenes warrant extended promos, crafting tagline teasers like, "Who said goodbye?" to maximize viewer retention. Contractual transparency between talent, agents, and producers is also reshaping how Grey's Anatomy plans exits. Rather than full NDA silences, recent agreements include transition rider clauses that outline exit storylines and return options, subject to mutual approval. This new model avoids sudden character gaps and keeps fans in suspense rather than confusion. Agents have embraced these frameworks to protect their clients from abrupt write-offs, while enabling writers to plan long-term arcs. As Grey's Anatomy pioneers its 20th season, rumors swirl around who might. As Grey's Anatomy enters its 20th season, the departure of main characters continues to reflect not only narrative necessity, but also the ebb and flow of real-world contracts, creative pauses, and personal priorities. With veteran cast members renegotiating new deals and younger stars forging their own paths, the next round of exits is already in motion behind closed doors. First on the list is Dr. Levi Schmidt, whose endearing awkwardness and surprising medical flair won him a legion of fans. Jake Borelli, who brought Levi to life, is fresh off a milestone in his personal announcement, and sources confirm that a 6-year contract signed in 2018 reaches its natural expiration this year. Borelli faces a classic crossroads: extend with Grey Sloan or pursue guest arcs on other ABC franchises and potential film roles. Negotiations have centered on screen time guarantees. Borelli's camp wants Levi to head a new mental health initiative storyline, while the writer's room envisions him transitioning into an administrative liaison post. If both sides can't find middle ground, expect Levi's story to head unexpectedly in a new geographic direction, perhaps to a rural hospital system, mirroring Borelli's off-screen desire to work closer to home and limit bi-coastal commuting. Then there's Dr. Nico Kim, portrayed by Alex Landy, who branded himself as Gray Sloan's champion of LGBTQ+ representation. Landy signed a 3-year deal in 2021 with 2 annual options, but industry whispers suggest he may exercise his option to become a producer on another series. His character's bridging work between specialties offered ample flexibility for an exit. A Fulbright research exchange in Canada or an elite NIH fellowship in Baltimore could neatly wrap his arc. Early drafts of Season 20 hint at a multi-episode farewell, where Nico trains a successor for his specialized care unit before boarding a train north, reflecting Landy's real wish for dramatic closure and creative credit on future scripts. Meanwhile, contract discussions with Camilla Luddington, Dr. Joe Wilson, have led to a rare joint negotiation scenario. Luddington's team seeks both salary parity and executive producer credit on any storylines that integrate legal drama elements, reflecting her growing interest in narrative complexity beyond medical beats. ABC has offered a sliding scale, fewer episodes in exchange for producer status, or full season terms without the credit. If an agreement isn't struck, Joe's storyline will likely pivot to an off-screen adoption case in Europe, allowing cameo calls via FaceTime and cameo fees that still satisfy Luddington's desire to balance family life with limited on-set time. Beyond individual deals, the show's core trio, Ellen Pompeo, Chandra Wilson, and James Pickens Jr., are navigating a high-stakes trilogy of contract renewals. Pompeo's Meredith Grey contract is up in 2024, and her ask is unprecedented. Co-showrunner status, 6 episodes per season, and a profit-sharing share on streaming royalties. ABC counters with 4 episodes and a flat fee plus bonus clauses tied to viewership metrics. Wilson and Pickens are watching closely. Both have sought mentorship roles in the writer's room. If Pompeo secures full creative input, expect Bailey and Weber to negotiate similar terms, or consider deferred exits if parity isn't achieved. Behind the scenes, the network is weighing the risks of a full-scale transition to a new creative era versus the financial stability of long-standing leads. Amid these high-profile talks, newer ensemble members tread cautiously. Dr. Mika Yasuda, new in Season 19, is under a 2-season rookie contract with a critical big arc clause that elevates her pay and story priority once per season. That clause kicks in next year, giving Yasuda's actress leverage to demand department head storylines or walk away for a spin-off in trauma surgery. Such clauses are double-edged. They ensure talent loyalty early on, but can become exit triggers when an actor's star climbs too quickly. On the production side, the showrunners have developed a farewell framework to manage these potential exits. It begins 6 months before any contract end date. Agents provide an exit wish list, detailing character beats, desired send-off emotional registers, and cameo return conditions. Simultaneously, the writer's room drafts 3-tiered story outlines. One for a heroic exit, one for an overseas pivot, and one for a tragic medical emergency. This approach allows flexibility if negotiations collapse at the last minute, or if an illness, family development, or network realignment demands an immediate pivot. Audience engagement plays a critical role, too. Social media teams map character sentiment arcs via real-time analytics. If buzz for a departing character peaks early, producers may accelerate their exit storyline to maximize ratings. Conversely, if sentiment lags, they'll insert a surprise reprise or cliffhanger to reignite fan interest. These digital feedback loops have driven last season's tease of Joe's possible return during the spin-off crossover episode, a strategic move when user engagement dipped mid-season. The financial calculus is equally dynamic. Spin-off rights, merchandising deals, and streaming residuals are factored into exit valuations. For a character like Nico Kim, whose Rainbow marketing campaign generated substantial ad revenue among younger demos, ABC is willing to offer above-standard residuals for any gadget or apparel linked to his brand. That makes negotiating an exit more complex. It's not just about script pages, but about long-term revenue share for licensed merchandise and streaming bundles. All of these elements, the personal ambitions of actors, the creative vision of showrunners, the economic demands of a global franchise, and the instantaneous pulse of social media, converge to shape each main character departure. As viewers, we see only the emotional peaks, a heartfelt goodbye in the hospital courtyard, a panicked radio call, a new white coat hung on a hook. But behind each of those scenes lies a negotiation table strewn with term sheets, a writer's whiteboard scrawled with alternate endings, and a network press deck calculating the next spin-off opportunity. So before you shed tears at the next goodbye montage, remember that Grey's Anatomy's departures are as much about life off camera as they are about drama on screen. Every exit tells two stories, one scripted with heart for fans, and one negotiated with precision in boardrooms. And in that unspoken dual narrative lies the true reason our favorite doctors say farewell, where art, ambition, and real-world realities intersect in the most human of ways. Every goodbye on Grey's Anatomy leaves an echo, a blank white coat, a corridor that feels emptier. But that emptiness is quickly filled by negotiations, creative pivots, and new arrivals that promise fresh stories while honoring the old. As the show embraces its 20th season, it faces both the challenge of sustaining its core group and the opportunity to reinvent itself. Behind the cameras, showrunners, writers, and network executives convene, mapping out which characters will depart, which will return, and how each transition can both satisfy loyal viewers and open doors to future spin-offs. This final act of departure planning is less about endings than about perpetual transformation. In early drafts of Season 20, certain arcs were flagged as departure candidates. Levi's proposed mental health initiative, Nico's cross-country research fellowship, and Joe's anticipated adoption journey. These ideas emerged not only from narrative necessity, but also from contractual milestones. Actors approaching the end of agreed terms hold significant leverage. They can request profit participation, producer roles, or flexible shooting schedules. When contracts expire, negotiate faltering shows send tremors through writers' rooms and agent offices alike. Each side prepares fallback plans, a heroic surgery marathon, an international mission, or an off-screen new chapter. The ability to adapt quickly to contract outcomes is one of the series' enduring strengths. Meanwhile, the remaining ensemble grapples with the prospect of shifting team dynamics. Meredith, Bailey, and Richard may loom large in the opening credits, but the hospital corridors rely on a full complement of attendings, residents, and interns. Writers have learned to weave in guest arcs, recurring roles, and even cameos from past favorites. Every arrival is calibrated to fill emotional voids. A new neurosurgeon to partner on Code Blues, a dynamic trauma fellow to challenge old methods, or a visiting professor whose research ignites fresh debate. These guest appearances spark curiosity and set the stage for potential promotions from recurring to series regular, creating a narrative ladder that echo real-world career advancement. Social media sentiment remains a key driver in crafting departure scenes. Twitter polls gauge viewer attachment to characters. Instagram engagement on farewell clips can influence the length of a goodbye montage. Showrunners track hashtags, comments, and fan art to understand which exits resonate most. In a recent internal report, analytics revealed a spike in emotional response when Levi confronted his own vulnerability in Season 19. That insight prompted writers to dedicate extra airtime to his farewell, ensuring it felt earned. These data-driven decisions underscore how Grey's Anatomy balances heart-wrenching drama with the cold metrics of modern television. As each actor's contract discussions unfold, new terms reshape the show's financial landscape. Profit-sharing agreements tied to streaming royalties have become a major bargaining chip. For the first time, earlier agreements were renegotiated to include a share of on-demand revenue. This shift reflects how long-running series sustain their value long after original broadcasts. Characters who leave may still generate residual income for years to come, affecting how both actors and networks calculate exit deals. Understanding this economic reality is vital to comprehending why some departures are drawn out with recurring guest stints, while others are scripted as sudden emergencies. The creative team also embraces the abstract notion of legacy, weaving in thematic echoes that connect new doctors to departed pioneers. A resident studies the surgical technique once mastered by Christina Young. A nurse honors Izzy's healing touch by volunteering at a burn unit. These narrative callbacks serve as emotional anchors, reminding audiences that the show's history lives on in its present. When a departing character passes mentorship to a newcomer, the baton of legacy changes hands. This ritual acknowledges the real-world facts of changing cast availability while reinforcing the series' core theme. Healing is both individual and communal. Beyond the screen, Gray Sloan Memorial's world extends into companion podcasts, digital shorts, and web specials that celebrate cast milestones and behind-the-scenes negotiations. In these extras, showrunners share amusing anecdotes about table reads, actors recount on-set farewells, and agents discuss the art of balancing creative goals with contractual terms. Such transparency fosters trust with fans and underscores the collaborative spirit that has steered the series through 2 decades of change. It also demystifies the business side, clarifying how a fictional hospital mirrors the real-world complexities of the entertainment industry. As fans bid farewell to each doctor, remember that departures reflect personal ambition, financial reality, creative vision, and audience expectation. Grey's Anatomy thrives because it treats each exit as a chance to evolve rather than an irrevocable loss. Meticulous planning, data-driven insights, and deep respect for both characters and viewers ensure that every goodbye makes room for new arrivals. Corridors may feel empty, but renewal is always near.